and welcome to Tales of the Uncharted Territory.
Yes, we're still in the sort of a very, very late Halloween sort of vibe, having just watched Season 3, Episode 6, Eat Me. But, I don't do horror very well, right?
No.
So anytime that I indulge in horror, I have to sort of budget time for a come down.
Yeah.
Like this
Turn the lights on, make sure that there's no...
Exactly. Put on some Disney and like sing along with the princesses and like just...
That sounds like a fantastic plan.
This one time, sort of, my brother and I had downloaded through certain means a video game called Silent Hill: The Room, which we've heard a lot about. And we're still living at my mother's place at the time, and she was gone. And so, okay, we burned the disc and put it in and installed it, and then it starts off in this horribly decrepit like apartment where you look around and with this mounting sense of dread, and then like hands come out of the wall, and there's a yawning bloody chasm through the wall, and that's your only option to progress is to go in there. So my brother and I sort of silently looked at each other and then walked away from the computer, and I deleted the game and broke the disc, and he opened the curtains and we watched Aladdin twice.
We're not doing this.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather, I guess, you and your brother.
Very much so. So, for a palate cleanser, why don't we finish off the Zhaan by Astrogirl2? We've already done 6 stories so far. Last time we did Seed by Moon and Stars, On the First Day by Gat, and Benediction by Sunix.
And the first one today is Jewett for Leaf and Light, written by Snow Grouse for Wisdom Eagle.
Ooh, there's a very sort of birdie theme here.
There is.
The grouse and the eagle. The grouse and the eagle, though they are both full grown. No, I thought it was going to do like the Holly and the Ivy.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh,
sorry.
Fair enough. Okay, here it is, written for the Zhaan Ficathon and Wisdom Eagle, who requested, a garden, music, a new way of expressing love, and one of the following pairings. Zhaan/Stark, Zhaan/John, Zhaan/Aaron. The pairing can be subtextual or canon, pronful or not, or even just friendship, though with Stark Zhaan, that would be hard to pull off. Well...
Yes, they picked Aaron as a
okay,
story.
You can either see this as Zhaan/Aaron or Zhaan-Aaron.
There's a big difference between Zhaan/Aaron and Zhaan-Aaron.
So what does the -Aaron mean?
I'm just making an allusion to /fic.
Exactly. No, yeah. I think that's very much that's a thing where there's a sexual romantic relationship.
Right.
But so what's the dash then?
Not sure.
Okay. Oh, it's mental, spiritual love and joining, one type of unity. Okay. So if you can watch Farscape, you're quite safe reading this. Okay, thank you.
It's set around Season of Death, first episode of the 3rd series, and thus spoils the major cliffhanger of the end of Daimi Dichotomy.
Warnings for the usual debauched liberties taken with the English language. Yeah, it's massively poetic/purple again. Gosh, ugh. There are Earth myth references in there, and you can take them as having come from John and blah, 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 blah. I really should just post the damn fic already. Oh, I like these little bits of...
Yes. A little look into the mind of the author, trying to, notice that often they feel very apologetic from the author's perspective. Like they're apologizing for their weirdness, which is a shame. You should never apologize for your weirdness.
Exactly. Celebrate it and share it with love and pride. Thank you so much to... she says many thanks to Astrogirl2, but thank you to... I assumed I have no idea. Thank you to Snow Grouse, who is apparently feeling very accomplished, and rightly so.
Jewett for Leaf and Light.
By Snow Grouse.
Zhaan, no, you're not fit to share.
Zhaan lifted her hand, dismissing John, silencing him. Oh, if only it worked that easy.
It's not your choice to make, John.
John was left in the corridor, rubbing warmth back into his arms, unable to look up, worn from the frost.
It was then that Aaron realized she was in the corridor with them, while her body still lay on the bed, and felt a pang of loneliness. Panic. The sharp notes found in every Rusalka song. She reached out to touch John, but her hand went straight through him.
Ooh.
She opened her mouth to cry out, to somehow make him turn and face her.
When she felt blue light upon her eyelids, now flesh and blood, shuddering as she was pulled back in by azure tendrils, forcing her to feel, forcing her heart to pump blood through veins that were already growing cold. Zhaan, the sad smile of Zhaan and her gentle hands, an osmosis of the soul flowing into the body, a mother's worried sigh in Aaron's ears as she fell asleep, Zhaan cradling her in her arms.
Aaron, come home. Come. Dream Aaron blinked at the clearness of the sky above, the summer sun blinding her, long grass tickling her bare feet.
Zhaan? And there Zhaan was, ringed hand clasping the warrior's calloused one, chanting softly, touched cheeks, foreheads. opened eyes, opened a path, a meadow, an orchard of music.
A blue grove of trees that sang surrounded them, and beneath the tallest of the trees Erin lay palely loitering. Oh, John's silly stories. Did John tell stories to Zhaan too, late at night, of beautiful enchantresses who sang you to sleep? Embraced, caressed by Zhaan, still singing.
Silver and blue and ash, the leaves chimed, each laughing as it fell, tinkling, whistling, chittering in its own song, raining softly around them like eiderdown. Softly, soft were Zhaan's arms, Zhaan's hands of healing and killing, of prayer and pain, holding her like some treasure, like she was fragile glass. Erin laughed and shook her head, thinking she didn't need to be treated like this. She was fine, Zhaan. Don't...
Zhaan picked up one of the leaves, iridescent like a dragonfly's wings, vein hollow as a bird's bone, and touched it to Erin's lips. Shh.
Erin smiled, laughed. A deep laughter from the heart, a child's true laughter she thought extinct from her mind. She caressed Zhaan's face, letting the love wash over her, for everything was right, perfect here. She knew it in her heart of hearts. Some sacred grove of the Pa'u, perhaps, that soothed the mind so. Whatever it was more true than guns and blood and pain could ever be, the serenity reaching deeper inside her than any weapon could.
Zhaan traced Erin's lips with the leaf tip, Zhaan's pink tongue poking out in a little girl's secret packed smile, and Erin responded with a low note in her throat, a small chuckling "ah," as she parted her lips and tasted the leaf. Oh, she blinked, sudden spark of electricity leaping from the leaf onto her tongue, but not at all unpleasant. Zhaan smiled, and whatever it was, she did it again. Erin's fingers clutched Zhaan's robes like bedsheets, the notes of the music dancing to her, vibrating into her mouth and throat, the singing of the trees now boldly soaring into louder, softer, and crueler rhythms. The music in her and outside her sang upon her skin as Zhaan kissed her chest, neck, throat, holding Erin trembling, shivering in joy.
This is wonderful.
Ooh, yeah. It's like bordering PG, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it's sort of Willow and Tara on Buffy levels of, no, this is just beautiful.
Yeah.
But I sort of imagined them sort of... Well, I've evoked this imagery before of two young people of similar genders rowing a little boat on the English countryside while they read poetry to one another, and works for young men and works for young women or women of various ages as well.
Very true, yeah.
Zhaan's teeth nipped at the leaf, licked at it, tongue pushing the music into Erin's mouth. Fierce, raw, the frail blue veins of the leaf crushed by their mutual hunger. A flurry, the beginning notes of a symphony of note leaves swirled around them, tickling, prickling, whipping Erin's sensitized skin. It urged her on and on, a faster tempo, descending into raw, vulgar, pastoral jigs as Zhaan entered her and she entered Zhaan. This is just... Oof. Grab your ukulele, come on, I'll find a violin somewhere. I can't play it, but that didn't stop Guy Gross. The bonds of their minds were ribbons in the wind, twirling, ducking, chasing each other as if around a maypole. Getting closer and closer to each other's cores with each taunting, giggling spin, kisses, touching more daring as the music swelled, rose to a thrumming crescendo, until the melody, the intertwined threads of their minds, single, one mind, the prick of the leaf shrapnels of the heat of the sun, the scream, yes, Zhaan's, hers, pierced the orchard, the astral bodies trembling, convulsing with release and love, their shapes turning, tumbling down on a bed of grass and glittering with leaf dust.
Several heartbeats later, possessed by a sorrow she could not name or place correctly, it was all a sequence of disasters and sorrow upon Moya. Erin unclasped her hand from Zhaan's, blinked, hand automatically raising to wipe the moisture from her lashes.
The cabin was too cold, or too hot, she couldn't tell, just hugged herself. She had glimpsed the spots of red and yellow, the inevitable October on Zhaan's features.
Erin? The whisper was frail, even more fragile now. Such energy, such vibrant life wasted on frivolities. Saving a mere soldier. Erin shook her head angrily.
Zhaan, please. She turned her head away. Don't do this. Not for me. Don't do this to yourself. She sat up and leant against the wall.
Yet Zhaan's warm, tender laugh was still the same, even if covered with a blue sleeve when the coughing followed. Zhaan rose up, swallowing when the coughing, but not her smile, finally ceased.
What?
Oh.
What better time than now, Aaron? Zhaan stood in the doorway, gathering her robes around her, hands in a gesture of peace.
Only the goddess knows if there's a tomorrow for any one of us. Another cough and a smile. She stepped close again, fanning her fingers in a gesture of blessing. Beloved Aaron, I'm doing this for all of us, all of you, for all the love you've given me.
Aaron rose to face Zhaan, caressing her veil. Morning veil? Not yet, damn it, not yet. Zhaan, don't go. No longer fighting the tears that rolled down her face. Such a strong face, Zhaan had called it. Frel. And then she was held again, with love and warmth.
I will miss you, Zhaan.
Shh, my child. Zhaan caressed her hair, as if she was committing it to memory.
If the goddess wills it, we shall meet again, my beloved friend. And that whisper was softer than ever, a mere breath upon Aaron's ear.
Aaron sat there for a long time after Zhaan had left, mourning the mother of the mothership, gazing out of the window with a weak smile, remembering that everyone, Zhaan and herself, were but stardust, and would be so again. The end, and then...
Neep.
Neep.
Not sure what, but it says neep at the end.
Like there's 3 blank lines after end, and then neep. And it's the full stop after neep that makes it so...
Something that Snow Grouse apparently felt very... had strong feelings about.
Maybe they're Scottish.
Neep. Oh, neeps and taters?
Neeps and tatties.
Yeah.
Haggis, neeps and tatties.
Oh.
Turnip.
Turnip, that's the one. Oh, yeah. So, thank you for that, Snow Grouse.
Do you remember how for a while we were doing like favourite lines that we sort of remembered and then we forgot we were doing that? Mine is definitely the mother of the mothership.
Oh, yes.
For Zhaan, that is so good.
I definitely see that, where that came from, yes. Oh, we'll see. Let me try and remember that for the next story that we do.
Ooh, yeah.
Which was written by Volus, I suppose it's pronounced, in the French version. For Moon and Stars, the story is called To Hell and Swallowed. That sounds a bit like...
Interesting. And Moon and Stars requested reference to the Pa'u training and no Stark. Okay, that's a very decisive... No, yes, I want more of this and none of that.
Oh, no Stark. Right, sorry, I thought it was like, no Stark, don't. But yes. Fandom Farscape characters on rating PG, disclaimer, not mine. Summary, you can't pay attention to this world on your knees. Okay.
All right. Notes pre-series. Spoilers for 112. 112 was...
a long time ago.
Yeah, it was either the Flax. No, that was 113. It depends on the... that was one of those ones that was flipped, so we don't know whether that was Rhapsody in Blue or the Flax. Rhapsody in Blue makes sense.
Right.
That's with Delphians.
One moment, I was lying in my cell, a savage capable of anything. The next, the truth was revealed to me, and I knew my true path. From Thank God It's Friday again.
They don't tell Zhaan where they're taking her. 2 new guards just appear at the door of her cell. They restrain her hands, shackle her feet, and escort her to a shuttle.
She doesn't ask questions, not then. Not until they lead her off the shuttle and onto another ship.
The walls are golden, and underneath her feet she feels breathing.
What is this place? She murmurs, because they interpret quiet as weakness, and they don't withhold information from prisoners they perceive as weak.
Leviathan transport, one of her guards responds.
Where am I going? She asks.
To that, they do not respond.
She paces the length of her cell. At her previous station, she was at least given tasks. Here on the Leviathan, there is only endless waiting. She wants to howl. She wants to scream. It's been too long since she's been under a sun, and with nothing to occupy her, the lack is impossible to ignore. She does at least receive regular meals. The protein stays her hunger, stays the madness. For now.
She leans against a wall, presses her cheek against the skin of it. She does not know how to communicate with the ship, but it brings some peace to her mind, knowing that she isn't completely isolated. She strokes her hand over the wall and imagines she hears the ship purr. Oh.
Certain guards appear on a regular basis, though she isn't able to develop a rapport with any of them. With each attempt, she's rebuffed, but she thinks the effort is a worthy one, regardless. As the weeks grow long, she puts a question to each of them. How long am I to be kept here? One woman laughs, but that's the most reply she receives.
She fears she will grow mad again. There is nothing else to fill the vacuum in her mind, aside from the irritation of her captivity, the dark flashes of rage at her captors. This is not a novelty, this cramped, sun-deprived lunacy. This is nothing she has not experienced before.
This is the thing few outsiders understand about the Delphian Seek. It's a necessity should one wish to remain sane. Before the people flowered, there was the dark time. Yeah. There was a war and chaos and murder. Kalan, is that how you pronounce it again?
No, I think it's Kalen. She's always said it called
right,
Len.
yeah, Kalen. Reached out and showed them their path to evolution, to enlightenment. Kalen taught them the way to peace, both inside and out. Without the Seek, they would all descend to savagery. This is what she was taught. This is what she believes. But only experience has shown her the truth of it.
They found her wailing beside his body. She barely noticed their presence until they gathered his body, pulled him away from her. Then she fought blindly. She returned to herself when they bound her. Her throat throbbed from her screams, and blood coated her tongue, her hands. They stuck her in a dry, dark cell, and she thought they would leave her there to wither, no less than she deserved.
One day, a guard escorts a Hynerian past her cell and stops, strolls away, just out of earshot. She approaches the door of her cell, crouches to meet the Hynerian's eyes. "There is one other prisoner," he whispers to her, "and 2 of us. I've bribed a guard. I have a plan."
The guard returns. "Come on, Domina." He leans on the last word with a sneer. Oh, sorry. "Domina."
The Hynerian smiles, nods his head, waves casually to her as he leaves.
She sits back on her heels, leans her head back.
Breathes deep, and again.
And she prays.
Ooh. Oh, nice, yes.
And apparently the title and summary are adapted from Christian Hawley's Interlude with Gypsies and Tambourines, which I love that title.
It does have a very nice ring to it.
Thank you so much for this wonderful peacefulness. Yeah, I always wondered, like, what did their escape actually look like? Because it was established that
they arranged some sort of insurgency.
But it was always as if Dargo and Zhaan and Rigel had never spoken before their escape.
It did seem a bit... They did coordinate very well because, you know...
Apparently?
Yeah, because like the moment John arrives, everybody's like still super businesslike and like he's an outsider. They think he's a Sebastian, so...
yeah, true.
Therefore a peacekeeper in whatever way, shape or form, but...
But also, like, Zhaan and Dargo hadn't introduced themselves to each other.
No, I guess not.
They only got to do that once they'd starbursted away and they could, tell each other their names, so they'd clearly never done that.
No, so maybe their cells didn't have the view of each other's as they were seen here.
Oh, yeah. A few of these stories have mentioned that they had adjoining cells.
Yes.
And then you can know that someone else is there, or their gender by the sound of their voice, or their species by the slap of their tentacles, I guess.
Oh, by the shape of their mivonks.
You don't get to... No, you have to... Well... I mean, can you hear the shape of someone's mivonks?
Well, it depends on if you've got echolocation or not. Okay. So we have one more story out of the Zhaan Ficathon.
Yeah, Fire and Brimstone, which is titled And a Backup. Oh, yes, okay.
Which was again written by Astrogirl2, this time for Red Star Robot.
Ah.
And Wisdom Eagle, I believe.
Oh, here. It's a pinch hit for Wisdom Eagle who had to drop out due to RL. What's a pinch hit?
Oh, I think it's a baseball term.
It's like a substitution. Oh, okay, so this is what happened. Wisdom Eagle, who had one story written for them, was supposed to write a story, and they weren't able to.
Yeah, and Astrogirl2 stepped in to write that story.
Okay.
So, Red Star Robot, who among other possibilities asked for pre-series anarchist Zhaan.
Yeah!
Oh, yeah, that sounds going to be interesting. That's... bleh. Let's edit that.
Edit.
That sounds like it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I like the sound of anarchist Zhaan.
In fact, I was the leading anarchist.
Yes.
She knows exactly what that means. She knows. Okay.
I saw this like thing. Okay, completely. I don't know what it's from. It's some weird movie, and it's a kangaroo talking to another guy, and he asks like, "What are you?" And it's like, I'm an anarchist," and kangaroo goes like, "I'm a communist." Oh, that means we can be friends until the revolution. After that, it's going to get weird.
This was from a movie?
This was from some sort of movie, yes.
And just to be clear, kangaroo is the actual animal. So
yes. I mean, I'm not sure if it was like Tankerel-style kangaroos or anything.
Oh,
but,
booger.
You couldn't quite make that out from the screenshots that were into it. But yes. Anyway, Fire and Brimstone by Astrogirl2.
Oh, no, just Astrogirl. Oh,
that's interesting.
Somebody else must have taken Astrogirl on LiveJournal. Oh, no.
Oh.
All right, well, she's the original to us.
Yes. Zhaan raised her eyes from the flickering flame to the ornate metal basin that rested atop it and added oil, drop by careful drop.
Bloop.
Fragrant smoke wafted up, released by the warmth of the flame. She inhaled deeply, allowing it to fill her senses and calm her mind. She would need a clear head. The formula for this explosive was delicate and exact, and that's why we're working with flames and oil.
Yes. After repeated it's the Chief Anarchist's cookbook.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Damn. Very good.
After repeated applications of heating, mixing, and cooling, she was left at last with a small whitish lump, unimpressive in appearance, can relate, and entirely inert until activated with the appropriate trigger substance. And yet, locked inside was enough explosive power to light up all of Delvia with its flame.
That's a big explosive.
Yeah. Or at least enough to tear out a very large piece of the planet's corrupt political core. Oh,
there we go.
It was beautiful. It was perfect.
She slipped her creation gently into a protective covering to keep it pure and glanced at the timekeeper mounted to the wall. A bright, flowering plant that tracked the position of the sun in the sky, even when it was obscured from view. She was meant to be meditating at this Arn, seeking the peace of spirit that would bring her into closer connection with the goddess. She laughed, as if chanting and prayer were any substitute for accomplishment, for action. Zhaan could not imagine that the religious ecstasies her Pa'u Mentus claimed to feel in the presence of the goddess, and she had doubts as to whether they were anything but empty claims. Could possibly compare with the exhilarating rush of righteous destruction. Okay, so this is like hard to do, these like sub-clauses in sentences. Like
yes.
I can imagine it's also kind of hard to follow when you're listening to this being read out. But
yes, well, I do another story reading podcast called The Voice of Dog for the furry community, and there sometimes authors, they write in parentheses and italics and what am I supposed to do with that?
Yes.
Or you'll have a story written entirely in the first person with someone who has a very distinct accent, and then they also speak, like in flashbacks.
Oh dear.
So you have okay. We're nowhere near in that sort of territory here. I am loving this.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that this is before Zhaan started shaving her head, and she's got a mohawk.
Yes, I can see that.
Right?
Yeah.
Righteous, like six-pointed flaxen mohawk. Oh. When the elders had asked her why she'd applied to train for the priesthood, she had told them her mother wished it, which was true enough as a bare out-of-context fact. They, in their usual sanctimonious fashion, had suggested that whatever Zhaan might believe, the true reason must surely be that her soul cried out for the goddess, and the goddess was guiding her path. So perceptive they claimed to be, and yet they could not see the obvious truth. What Zhaan desired was power. Bital had proved, if no one before him, that the priesthood was an effective means to political power. But whereas she had already begun to fear that Bital enjoyed the power for its own sake, Zhaan intended to use it to turn the political system against itself. And how could even the greatest political power compare with the power of the soul, of the mind, with the things a trained Pa'u could do? Zhaan refused to believe the stories of undisciplined power bringing insanity. She had done things her mentors would regard as unspeakable, and wasn't she still entirely sane?
Oh, any headline that is answers in a question mark can be answered by no. As
Betteridge's Law, yes.
But why should power be reserved for only those who felt, who claimed to feel the touch of the goddess's spirit? The goddess had never spoken to her, not even when requested to, if she even truly existed. Clearly she wanted nothing to do with Zoto Zhaan. Very well, if the goddess had no use for Zhaan, then Zhaan had no use for her. Indeed, the very thought of becoming like the others, full of preaching and platitudes and frustrating passivity, made her shudder. If that was what the touch of the goddess brought one, then may she never live long enough to feel it.
Righteous! No, she thought, no meditation today, no hypocrisy, no sermons. She would do something honest.
She pocketed her explosive and set off to do some damage.
Righteous! Frail you, I won't do what you tell me! Whoa, that rhymes better! They should have done that.
Oh?
Frail you, I won't do what you tell me?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
wow. So, Fire and Brimstone by Astrogirl.
Which concludes the Zhaan organized by Astrogirl and sent to us by our by friend of the show and dear listener and contributor Kathy. Thank you so much. These were fantastic.
We hope you enjoyed these readings from the Ficathon.
Duet for Leaf and Life by Snowgrouse, To Hell and Swallowed by Voleuse, and Astrogirl2's Fire and Brimstone.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Tales of the Uncharted Territories.
I'm Kathy.
I'm Kay.
So far, so good. Bye-bye. Bye.
Sorry. These people are English. They have no idea what that means.
Some of them might be South African.
True.